Hello, I'm attorney Dan Marr from the Nashua, New Hampshire law firm of Hale and Kerrigan. I've been practicing law in New Hampshire for approximately 39 years and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for about 29 years. And during that period of time, I've dealt with a lot of creditors' rights issues, including breaches of contract and fraud. And today I'm going to be focusing on when some fraud has been committed by the person in front that's dealing with you that has a shallow pocket is what I call it, not much money, but there's somebody behind the scenes that's also helping them that has a deep pocket and you want to get to them. So I'm going to be talking about the concept in fraud of civil conspiracy. And civil conspiracy is a cause of action that the courts recognize. I've had courts in the Superior Court here in New Hampshire recognize it, but basically civil conspiracy is when there's a combination of two or more persons by concerted action to accomplish an unlawful purpose or to accomplish a purpose not itself unlawful by unlawful means. And there's case law in New Hampshire, the New Hampshire Supreme Court decisions that actually deal with that issue. Sometimes comes about an issue of fraudulent transfers where it's RSA 545A already allows you to go after the transferee, being the person that was transferred an asset for less than equivalent value or actual value, and it's actual intent so somebody's acting as a straw person for that individual to hide assets from you. So you're not dealing with that straw person being that extra person, but you're actually the debtor that owes you money is hiding the asset in there. It could be real estate, it could be other things, hiding it in that other person's name with the intention to defraud you. I had a case several years ago where somebody actually was transferring all their assets into realty trusts and they're taking back mortgages for that property. So they were removing it from the bank's ability to grab that real estate and then having a mortgage back and saying, look, I'm got reasonable equivalent value back for the property. But the whole reason for it was a scam to prevent the bank, in this situation it was actually the FDIC, from, or the servicing agent, Bank One at the time back in the 90s, from going after those assets. And that would be a clear example of not only a fraudulent transfer, but also civil conspiracy where the individuals behind that realty trust that were setting it up were in fact trying to defraud this creditor, and they were doing civil conspiracy. So in that situation, you can deal with those. You can address that, and I've seen an option to get more assets. So not only are you trying to undo that transaction itself, when I was doing that in that situation, but I was also addressing under the fraudulent transfer statute, but I was also, you can also go after directly that individual and say the risk isn't just you undoing this fraudulent transfer that you always was a scam anyway, but going after you for damages to my client because I have to spend the time to do this. So that's worthwhile. Targeting of the co-conspirator of the fraud makes a lot of sense in that situation. There is an argument that I've had raised in cases called the inter corporate argument. Basically, it's the corporate conspiracy where somebody will make an allegation that they are specifically part of a company, and if you're actual employees of a company, you're doing what your employer tells you to do, you can't be liable for civil conspiracy. Not really the case, because if you're actually part of a fraud, you can always be liable for your own individual torts. But in the civil conspiracy issue, that could be a technical argument. But my experience is when anybody is acting under their scope of employment, the Nuremberg defense of I was just following orders, which is a reference to the horrible atrocities that were happening in Nazi Germany. In those situations, you can always be liable for your own intentional torts. So if you have somebody that's done something and they're saying, look, I was just an employee, I was doing what I was told to do, you can still go after them to the extent they have a deep pocket and worthwhile going after. So you want to consider all those issues. I'm attorney Dan Marr. I've dealt with these issues for everything from creditors' rights to fraud cases, embezzlement, fraudulent transfers, and the like. I'm at 603-883-5501. You can also check out our website at Nashua Law, all one word, .com, NashuaLaw.com, and then click to my bio, and I have weekly blogs on a variety of topics. Look forward to working with you if the opportunity arises. Thank you.